Look, I'd offer my own record as the example of how you overcome the gridlock. The assumption is correct. The atmosphere is poisonous. I think there's two reasons. One is a group of people who come in with a fervor and a commitment. They believe they know the right answer. Compromise is unacceptable. Changing an inch from what they believed is verboten. That's one group. A second group are people who look at the congressional term as an instrument to the next election. How do we win that election? What do we do? How do we keep things from happening? My second term in Congress, I teamed up with conservative Republican Chuck Grassley to pass a whistleblower law, amendment to the False Claims Act, to give power to people to sue contractors who committed fraud against the government. We celebrated the 25th anniversary of that law last month. $30 billion in recoveries. Republican Senator, Democratic House member. Henry Hyde and I teamed up to rewrite all the laws on arms exports and dual-use technologies to terrorist countries. John McCain, Al Gore, and I wrote and passed the laws on missile proliferation. Darrell Issa and I and a number of Republicans and Democrats put together significant patent reform. Boring, but key to American innovation in the future. I work with Republicans, I respect them. You extrapolate that experience to the Congress as a whole, we'll get a lot more done.
All right, but here's my question. I'd like you to respond, and then we're going to go to the other candidates. You brought up those few instances in which...
I only had 90 seconds.
I'm sorry?
I could have brought up many more.
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I said I could have brought up many more.
Yes, I'm sure, but I think the example is you brought up examples of where gridlock did not occur and things have gotten through. And the impression I have is, well, let me show you where it worked. The reality is we don't think it does work. And I'd like to know, how do you unravel that? I understand both of you had huge successes, but how do you, what can you do to undo that? Because you came up with something very legitimate, and that is the poisonous atmosphere of coming into Congress. People who are elected, who are fervent, who are true believers, short of not letting them in Congress. How do you deal with it?
You reach a point where the serious threat to our country's leadership, internationally and domestically, is so endangered by the failure of the Congress to act that a group of people decide to act like adults, make some compromises, understand that for our debt crisis, it's going to take changes in the tax laws, changes in the entitlement laws, deciding which programs work, and with an eye on what produces jobs. It's called a maturity that says the country's problems are greater than our party's beliefs, and we're going to make compromises in order to try and make that happen.
Boy, and I thought I was cynical. If I heard you right, it all left to go to hell in a handbasket.
No.
Before things get done.
The fact is, crises do help to focus the mind. There's no doubt about it.
All right.
But I would say we're getting pretty close to quite a crisis in this country, and it's time for the minds to focus.
Fair enough. Ms. Can I ask you to just keep your applause limited to me? Okay, Ms. Shelley, assuming you get elected, we're talking about getting into a Congress that is completely gridlocked. What do you think you can do if elected as a congressperson?
Well, I'm breaking the gridlock by annoying both parties. I'm a social moderate, which annoys the Republicans, and I'm an economic conservative, which doesn't make the Democrats too happy, and I'm Jewish, female, and going after the Democratic votes, and right there, I'm in the middle of everything. I believe that we have to get back to our principles of freedom on the issues we can agree on. And I really think that part of the reason that it is so gridlocked is an indirect consequence of campaign finance reform, because all the congressmen have to raise a lot of money through small donations, and they have to send out these envelopes that say on the cover, we're going to take away your something. Each side is sending out these envelopes. We're going to take away your rights, we're going to take away your this, we're going to take away your guns. And I think it's because they have to rile people up to write small checks. It's very difficult to raise money in politics. And the rules from campaign finance reform are so screwy, so hard to follow. For instance, Sony Pictures Entertainment gave, on March 8th...
Gridlock.
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 That was the question. Gridlock.
Gridlock because the financing is causing people to go to the extremes.
Okay.
And that the answer is to repeal some of these onerous restrictions or change the limits so that people can raise money for the candidates they believe in, and you don't have to have these envelopes going out and scaring people in their mailboxes.
So that's your answer. Okay, thank you.